We're going to get to the weekend action later today, but to begin with, we have a guest, as you just heard, Kevin Blue, General Secretary, CEO of Canada Soccer. We'll call it Kevin Blue Monday because it's around 6 months since the Canada Soccer New Order kicked off.
Oh, wow. That was well done.
Bravo.
Very good.
I've been working on that one all weekend, and I'm very, very happy with it. Kevin, so let's describe the first 6 months, can we? I mean, it was some summer in at the deep end. Can you describe it?
Yeah, smooth with no volatility whatsoever. Obviously, it's been awesome. Honestly, it's been started in March, middle of March, and as you all know, being new to the sport, a lot to learn. Still have quite a bit to learn, but the process of the last 6 months has been invigorating, challenging. I think that there's been lots of progress made on a variety of fronts. And, as far as like peaks and valleys are concerned, I think we've had some substantial ones and hoping to smooth out those peaks and valleys into just a steadily increasing line, if you will, but certainly not boring and certainly, happy to be contributing as best I can.
Have you enjoyed it so far?
Yeah, lots of days I have. I can name like 3 or 4 that I haven't, but
Can we guess what they are?
Look, it's the challenge of it and the opportunity, frankly, for the sport and for, by extension, Canadian sports in the next few years, for getting soccer right in Canada is substantial. And I think that the energy in the soccer community in Canada for progress and for change is palpable. And, myself and Peter and Jesse and everybody that's new is really trying to help us move forward in a substantial way, as we enter these important moments. And it's super fun to do that. The building process is super fun. And it's something that I've done in my career at other stops. And there's a lot of patterns in common here. And that building process is really fun for me.
Well, let's get to the checklist here. There's a few things we must get to. September the 9th, you announced there's a framework agreed upon between the players and Canada Soccer for a new CBA contingent on a reworked deal with Canada Soccer business. All right, Kevin, where are we at with that right now?
Straight to it, Sharms.
Absolutely. Got 20 minutes.
No, like, hey, how's the teams doing? No, all right.
They're doing well. They're doing really well. We know that.
So I guess, look, I want to just take a step back. I'm not here to negotiate with CSB on a podcast, but what I do want to do is take a step back and just have a conversation with you all about the commercial environment for the sport in Canada. Like on the player side, we've developed, I think, a really healthy sense of mutual admiration and trust. And I think that both the federation and the players have the common goal of treating the players fairly, treating the players equitably, and treating the players appropriately within the constraints of what our federation is able to do right now, all for the betterment of the growth of the sport in Canada. So I hope that that alignment continues to strengthen, and I feel super great about the relationship with the players. And I think they would say hopefully the same thing about our federation. The commercial circumstances in our sport, just broadly speaking, have to improve dramatically, right? Like you have this sport where, as an outsider coming in, you have extremely high levels of participation in our sport. As we all know, it's, the most registered sport amongst youth players in Canada. And it's just played at a very, very, very high level in Canada. But the commercial and in some ways the cultural footprint of the sport has not reached a level that is commensurate with the participation, right? So I often try to explain this and explain my thinking to folks by talking about soccer compared to other sports. If soccer, you have participation that's sort of way up here. For those of you listening, I'm holding my hand up high. And then you have a commercial and cultural footprint that doesn't quite match that. It's our job collectively to help grow the commercial footprint so that the two match each other. And you see some other sports where it's actually the inverse, like the participation is less, but the commercial and cultural footprint is more significant, and it drives a lot of positive things for the economy in those sports, like hockey being one of them. Hockey's participation is still high, but it's less than soccer's, but the commercial and cultural footprint is significant. NFL football being another one, right? And I know Wonger is a football person. It's just like it's not as broadly of a played sport in this country, but it's extremely avidly followed. So what we have to do as a community is grow the commercial footprint, which will continue to fuel the sport at all levels. Our relationship with CSB is a critical component of that. And, again, we're working on it as best we can. They are working on it as well. There are still some significant gaps that need to be crossed there for us to be able to move forward in a productive way. Like we have all of us, I think, in Canada, but I'll speak for Canada Soccer and its stakeholders primarily, have to think really thoughtfully about the long-term future of our association as it relates to our commercial situation. And the importance of getting this right for everybody is very, very high. And as a result, we are being thoughtful. We are trying to be considerate of the stakes of trying to get this right. And so is CSB. And, we're hopeful that we can bridge these gaps, but, there's still some gaps that need to be bridged as far as how we move forward together. So with that, I think that the goal that everybody shares, including CSB, is a maturation of the commercial environment for this sport, and the players are ready to do their part. And so I hope that we can move forward, together in the best way possible once we can get across a few of these bridges.
Kevin, pivoting away from the commercial sector for a minute and just zooming in on the relationship. So how important was that for you? And where was it on a priority list to build that trust and that relationship with both the senior national teams in this country?
It was and remains at the very top of the list. Like, the players are our partners in everything that we do around the national teams, right? This is a partnership in which we work together to, represent Canada at the very highest level. And it's a priority of mine, and it will continue to be, to communicate as effectively as possible and as often as is appropriate and as transparently as possible with our senior national team players as it relates to their experience in our national teams. And, I hope I have been doing that effectively. I think the players would suggest that there's been significant progress in that area, and I am committed to continuing to do it. I'm going to Spain I'm not able to stay for the entire week, but I'm going to Spain to stay for essentially 24 hours to be able to sit with the players and be with the players and support the players in their first time together since the Olympic Games, to make sure that they feel the support and feel how much I'm trying to prioritize being there in person to communicate with them about a range of issues, especially during the sort of unique time that we're in right now. So that's important to me. It'll continue to be important, and I think it's a critical aspect to how we're moving the federation forward.
It is worrisome, though, Kevin, when you say there are still large gaps to bridge between Canada Soccer and CSB regarding the commercial side of the industry. I mean, what are we talking here, time frame here? I mean, the World Cup's not far away, really. There's a huge year coming up. This has to be rectified at some point. I mean, what is the next step?
Yeah, we agree. And James, I appreciate the question and the interest in the topic. Again, I'm going to do my best to be keeping the negotiation from, being public. We're working on it, and I'm hopeful. I think everybody's aware of the urgency. There's a lot of reasons to be urgent about it. Everybody gets that. The counterbalance to urgency is thoughtfulness about long-term decisions, and making sure that decisions that have long-term implications are given the appropriate careful consideration. And so this is something that I think all parties involved are trying to get right. And that's really the extent of what I think is appropriate to talk about as it relates to this private negotiation.
Once again, Sharm, stop bullying Kevin.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
it's fine. I asked for it, so he can do it.
I think he can handle it.
I think he can.
All
too.
right. Well, let's move on from the CSB and the CBA to the investigation.
Awesome. Great.
You know we have to do these things, Kevin. You know this,
You're on
right?
fire today.
People want to hear this stuff, right?
I
the
understand.
investigation is ongoing. It's been a while. Firstly, I mean, how long before it will be released, the initial report into what happened in France?
Yeah, I don't have a specific answer to that question, James. And the reason is because this is an independent and external process. Like when we announced independent and external, like free of influence or direction or whatever you want to call it from Canada Soccer, we meant that because we want the process to proceed with the appropriate integrity that comes from independence. I'm hopeful that we can, draw the process to conclusion relatively soon, but I don't have a specific answer on timing because of the independence of the process primarily. People want specifics, then they want general timelines, and I would say that it's unlikely that we're going to be here in months sort of waiting for this, but I would also suggest that it's unlikely to happen like tomorrow. But again, the specifics are not something that we are directing, and as a result, hopefully the timeline takes care of itself relatively soon, but it's not something that we have control over.
And as it pertains to the women's national team and having leadership in place there for a newly named head coach, will that happen at the conclusion of the independent investigation, or are you guys tied in some regard to the FIFA suspension of Bev Priestman?
I think the findings of the investigation will have a significant determinant on what the next steps are and the timing of the next steps. And until that, my answer is I don't know.
To clarify, though, this investigation right now is looking into what happened in France and with Bev. Is there another investigation following this regarding the systemic use of spying within Canadian soccer, or is it all part of the same package?
Again, it depends what they come back with. The investigators' assignment was to investigate what happened at the Olympic Games and any associated issues, right. And the interpretation of that will be up to the external parties' judgment. And once we are able to understand the findings, then I think that'll determine next steps on a number of fronts, including whether additional inquiry is necessary.
Hey, Kevin, there was a really great crowd for the Panama game or the men's game last week. That was impressive. The interest is there. Is there a plan? Because it's not getting the eyeballs I think it deserves. And One Soccer do a great job, but the actual reach for the sport and reach for these players, women and men, isn't generally there unless it's a big, big tournament. How do we improve that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I'd like to ask you all about this. Like, don't we all want to hear more of Jimmy? Like, we need more Canadian people hearing Jimmy more.
Do we? No, we don't. We do.
No, we don't.
We get a lot of Jimmy.
Well, you all get the same Jimmy, but we're talking about millions more Canadians hearing Jimmy.
Yeah.
Look, this is something that I think everybody's acutely aware of, especially like we're very aware of it as we build towards 2026 and on the men's side. And as we continue to try to help Canada understand the level of quality that the women's national team already brings to the table and has brought for quite some time, that there has to be more, mainstream media penetration, and there has to be more opportunity for people to see the fantastic teams and players that we have. Like, that's just all there is to it. Like, we had an extraordinary amount of viewership in the summer, and you all are, I'm sure, familiar with the numbers. We're talking about numbers that were significantly higher than hockey in terms of the Copa America and the Olympic Games, right? And like record-breaking viewership, significant portions of Canada tuning in to watch these players. And then we go play in a men's-friendly window in the United States, which is for Canada a significant opportunity. It's Jesse's return to the U.S. Canada hadn't beat the U.S., as we all know, in a very long time on American soil. The game against Mexico also sort of significant. Like, these are two sort of high-profile, big-brand opponents. And the amount of viewership because of the narrow distribution currently of One Soccer was unacceptable. And I think everybody understands this and is something that we need to work on. We were disappointed in some ways that there wasn't even that entities other than One Soccer were sending down reporters to be part of the work on the ground, and One Soccer did not do this. And so this is something that I think we're all attuned to, something that's absolutely critical going forward. And if we're going to grow the sport the way we all want the sport to grow, people outside of the immediate soccer family need to be able to be exposed to these players and need to learn their stories. And we've seen that in the summer when these matches are broadly carried and broadly seen, that it catches on with a huge number of Canadians, right? And there's like a virtuous cycle to that. We just need that to be more consistent year round. Now, the solutions to this are complex, multi-layered. Obviously, there's been the efforts to get One Soccer distributed on basic cable. There's been a CRTC ruling to that effect, which is good news. But on the other hand, as I learn more and more about the situation, my understanding is there's still quite a bit of progress that needs to be made, and there's quite a few potential friction points until that distribution happens broadly on basic cable, as far as I understand. So there's still some progress to be made there, and we're all hopeful that there is much more significant distribution of the national teams and other soccer properties in Canada as we go forward and try to grow the sport.
Do you feel pressure with the World Cup, 18 months away, whatever it is, to get all?
I think we should all feel pressure. I think all of us should feel pressure, right? Do we all care about this? Yes, all of you care about it. We all care about it. I think that one of the things that Peter, myself, others, and Jesse have been advocating for is alignment and everybody to be understanding that there's things that are a lot bigger than everyone's individual interests at stake right now with what's coming in the next several years between a home World Cup on the men's side and that we have another World Cup in 2027 with the women, and then a North American Olympic Games for ideally both programs. Right. There's a lot of visibility opportunities. We're at this moment in time in Canada where it's kind of like, if not now, whenever are we going to experience the type of breakthrough that we've all been talking about as potential? So the urgency levels are high for everybody, all of us, including, I think, anyone who's involved in this sport, I believe, feels this urgency. I think we feel lots of it and are sprinting, frankly, every single day, not sleeping a whole bunch, because we're trying to get all these things done and trying to get everything, in order so that we can be on offense as it relates to taking advantage of these opportunities. But there's massive urgency.
Well,
The
Kevin,
access. I was just saying the access to players, to yourself, Kevin, there seems to be for us a real 180. We were not always able to have access to players, to have that conversation with executive. I think the biggest thing for me is, how have you approached this and made it kind of you said, the primary relationship with the players. Have all the players kind of bought into this? Do they understand? Are they racing because of 2026? Are they feeling the pressure?
Well, we've provided a lot more opportunity for exposure with you all, because Footy Prime is the most important podcast in the world, as you all know.
Yes, Kevin Blue.
Quoted on a t-shirt.
Excuse me. But look, I will say this, I've tried to do my best since I started, and I think Peter shares the same view of communication is good, and people knowing what's going on is good. People understanding the full scope of the issues is good. People who are even arcane things like a commercial rights holder agreement, this is a nuanced thing, but people that want to know about it, we ought to be able to explain it to them within the bounds of confidentiality restrictions. So we believe in the fact that more communication and more understanding from everybody is a good thing. Of course, the players, as it relates to the players, it's in everybody's interests, including the players, for them to become broadly celebrated heroes in Canada beyond the soccer community, right? I think that one thing that maybe my outsider status, which I still believe I have some of, helps me understand is that the soccer community can be very internally referential, and there's a big ocean out there of people that want to cheer for this team, and as it relates to the women's national team in this window and the men's national team in future windows. And we want to make sure that people see this, and we want to build the profile of the players. And I think that perspective is something that I believe, we certainly understand this. The players increasingly feel that it is important for them to be role models, and they've always thought this, but this has become more intentional, in our efforts. And I'm hopeful that we will continue to see this. More and more people need to celebrate these players for who they are.
I know that we're probably getting down to the end of our time here, but I just wanted to say I lost a bet, Kevin, and I hold you responsible because I bet $5 you're going to be wearing a vest for sure. You're not wearing a vest, so I'm very disappointed. But I wanted to.
It's not far away, is it? Never far away.
Do you ever, as you walk into events, are you a Simpsons fan?
Just for you, Amy. I'm
See
not
my
a Simpsons
vest,
fan.
See my vest, made from
No.
real.
I know you guys are making a bit of a meme of my uniform that I wear on a regular basis, but it's very practical. The vest is like keeps you warm, but it's unrestricted. It's anyway.
I'm a big fan of it.
I got you your $5 back just now.
I know.
Between your vest and Jesse's tight grey pants, the fashion sense of Canada soccer has gone to new levels. We appreciate it.
That's the most important thing in all of this, in this change, is how everybody's dressing.
It's how you look, absolutely. But
Kevin, listen, go ahead.
One more just about the women, like when you're able to name a women's national team coach, like how obviously you're going to look at profiling, experience, pedigree, but how important is it that this person, when they're named, kind of fits the profile of a Jessie Marsh, not in the way that they coach or the system that they want to implement, but the way that they want to galvanize the entire Canadian soccer community and also align with what you and Peter and Jesse have already put into place over the past 7 months?
I think I'll answer the question in general, Amy, which is that everybody in leadership positions needs to be aligned such that we are all trying to, realize how broad our responsibilities are. And that's not only, in the first team and having success for the first team, whether that be the men's national team or the women's national team, but those folks that are most recognizable, which are the first team coaches, having an interest and ability and a passion for like the broader mission of growing the sport, and whether that be participation commercially, philanthropically, whatever the case may be. And, I don't know what's going to happen as far as the specific future of our women's national team coaching staff, and the investigation conclusion will help us, with more certainty around that. But that's my general perspective in any case.
Well, Kev, the girls are playing the world champions later this week, which is really exciting. Enjoy the trip. Enjoy the trip to Spain. And thanks so much for joining us and your candor, as always.
All right. Thanks, y'all, for having me on. And Amy, I don't know if you lost or tied the bet, but I have the best.
Just before you go, Kevin, can I ask one more question to everybody? Does someone have their laundry machine on?
I keep hearing that as well, actually. Usually it's me.
Okay. There's no household that's okay.
No.
Just wondering. No. I wanted to make sure.
Right.
It was almost like Clue, Kevin. I wanted to make sure you were here. It was Colonel Mustard in the laundry room with the candlestick.
Thanks, Kevin.
Right.
Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin. Safe travels.